Welcome to the Naked Ear Podcast. This podcast aims to bridge a gap between artist and listener. We'll be discussing some of the hottest topics in the music industry today, featuring conversations with music producers, musicians, songwriters, and normal everyday people. You'll get a better understanding of how people hear music differently and how it connects us all. So, whether you're an average Joe or an industry pro, join us as we aim to train the naked ear. What's up, everyone? This is Nick. I'm your host for the Naked Ear Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about something that is surrounding the music industry, and that is artists selling their master recordings. If you're new to the music business or you don't know what a master recording is, it's basically the song that you hear by the artist on the radio, on television, and if you wrote the song as an artist on a label, you might own the writing portion of the song, but the master or the recorded version might belong to the record label. So artists like Shakira, Bob Dylan, Fleetwood Mac, Ryan Tedder, who's written for Beyonce, Adele, Haley Steinfeld, and is the frontman for the band One Republic, are selling their masters. Okay, so why is this important, you might be asking yourself? Well, Amuse.com says that with a master recording, you can license the recording to third parties like television shows, films, commercials, or even for sampling use by other artists. As an artist, owning your masters gives you the legal rights to freely appropriate and maximize your money-making opportunities. Listen, so each artist has a different reason as to why they're selling their masters right now. I would say the two of the main reasons why artists are doing this are, number one, because they were not able to tour in 2020, so they lost tons of income. And two, because artists such as Bob Dylan and Fleetwood Mac are getting older, they have families they want to leave money to, and it's easier to just have that money, even though it's going to make more in the future, possibly, to send down to your family than to have them figure out all the legal aspects in the future. So think about it. Every time a song gets played on the radio or television or in a bar, whoever owns that master is getting paid, whether it's the artist, record label, or somebody who owns the master. And right now, these records are being bought and sold at an all-time high. Rolling Stone magazine said that a recent investor report from the company Hypnosis says that they're paying artists and songwriters an average multiple of 14.76 times the historic annual income. Basically, this is 14.76 years worth of predicted royalty profits for their catalogs. So Bob Dylan makes a multiple of 25 times what his song banks each year if he sells right now, which he did. So if you are a bigger artist, you have to ask yourself, would you sell right now? If I'm the Eagles and Hotel California is played on the radio 4 times a day, or if I'm Journey and Don't Stop Believing is played in every bar across America, yes, I'm selling. I would argue that even if you're on a label right now, you should sell. With the way that Spotify works, you're getting paid a third of a penny for every stream. No matter if you're Justin Bieber, Billie Eilish, or Ed Sheeran, 300 million views does not equal $300 million. Even when iTunes and Spotify existed and CDs were sold, artists were making way more money off of their masters. Now, there's also another reason why artists are selling their masters that needs to be talked about, and that is the tax rate at which they're selling them for. When Bob Dylan sold his master catalog for $400 million, he had to pay 20% of that, which was $80 million. Had he waited a year or two in America, that would have gone up to 37%, or an extra $65 million that he owed. And again, this may be the primary reason as to why artists are selling their masters right now. So let's just get this straight though. Big name artists are not the only artists that are selling their masters right now. People like Christina Perri and Nelly, 50 Cent, Skrillex, who are big name artists relatively, but not legacy artists like we think of from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, are also selling their masters. And think about music from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Record sales were at an all-time high during those periods, and there wasn't as much of a flooded industry as there is today. Spotify is the new industry giant when it comes to finding new music. And 40,000 songs per day get uploaded onto Spotify, whether it be from independent artists or artists backed by major labels. And I think we need to be asking ourselves as artists and listeners, What is the life duration of a song? Just because you can get playlisted with a song on Spotify that you wrote 3 years ago or released 3 years ago doesn't mean that New Music Friday isn't going to push your song out. And that is something that these major artists are considering when they realize that the longevity of songs are not what they used to be. So even though it's not a sure bet that the songs that are being sold right now won't be even more popular and worth even more money one day, it is a sure bet that a lot of money is being made right now, maybe more than ever, for major label artists or big name artists who are selling these masters. As an independent artist myself who put music on iTunes and Spotify before I ever printed a CD, I think I would sell my masters if I had the opportunity. My music gets played in cars on CDs from people who buy them at shows or gets streamed online, but I'll never see or may never see the royalties that these artists see with the masters that they're selling. So I think it's a good thing that they're standing up for themselves and the amount of work that they put into these songs. When Michael Jackson's music was sold a few years ago, everybody was up in arms, going crazy, but now it doesn't seem that crazy. However, there are some situations that are still a little bit shady, and I'm not going to get into it that much, but Taylor Swift's recorded music rights were actually sold to a company called Shamrock Capital. But they weren't sold by her. They were actually sold by her former label boss, Scott Borchetta, who sold them without her approval to somebody named Scooter Braun, who then sold them to Shamrock Capital. So if you're listening to any of Taylor Swift's old music on the radio or at a restaurant, she's not getting paid for that. But it's not just her. This is happening and has happened with artists throughout time. And I think that it's great that artists are finally standing up for themselves and are refusing to get screwed over by former business partners and record labels. If you enjoyed today's episode or learned something new, I would really appreciate it if you could leave this podcast a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Not only will it help us grow our mission online, but it will help us get our name out to more people everywhere. Thanks again for listening to the Naked Ear Podcast. Have a great day.